Hello everyone, just a really quick message to remind you about our Patreon. From just £1 a month, you can support the podcast, and in return, you get an extra section at the end of each interview where I ask the questions that you send in from home. There's also a monthly quiz where we do stuff like Family Fortunes, Pointless, The Chase, loads of other stuff. Previous guests, new faces, it's always a good laugh, always worth a watch. That comes out every single month. And now, exclusively, there's a new benefit. You get entered into a prize draw for signed items like this. So this is from John Scales. It's a 94 to 96 kit for Liverpool, signed by John, and this is thanks to exclusive private signings who have given us a load of shirts that we're going to give away, one each month. So all you got to do is get over to patreon.com/thefootballhistorianpodcast. You can win a signed shirt, extra section, a quiz every month. What more do you want? Back the podcast, back the lads. Let's get back to the episode.
Welcome to the Football Historian Podcast.
By all means, enjoy it.
He will go right to the very top.
Dos, tres, cuatro times.
Here we go, Germans.
I will turn these results round.
All right, that's good manners.
There's animosity, but there's no fight.
You can't beat them, join them.
How do you make me feel sick if I look at you?
No, I want to fight here.
But don't drink, don't sleep with women, don't drive fast cars.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit too!
Hello, welcome to the Football Historian Podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Hammers Allen. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much.
People who maybe don't know yet, we're going to fill the gaps in and we're going to have a chat about everything you do, but just very briefly before we talk about everything else, you just introduce yourself for anyone who might not be aware, please.
Hello, I'm James Allen. I am I'd say borderline semi-professional comedian. I've come from work. That's not me dressing up. I'm humble. I'm a podcaster, the Culturas Football Podcast, and yeah, just all round football geek.
Yeah, well, if there's a place for it,
Exactly,
I think it's this one. We've had Stephen Donan, who used to be the curator of the Liverpool Museum. I feel like he was the perfect the historian side of it, but you could be the next perfect guest, I think, in terms of the quirky side is what we're trying to get at as well. Because for anyone watching, we've done like interviews and stuff like that, but we're trying to start to do a few different things. We do a monthly quiz on our Patreon where we try and get into more the niche stuff, and if there's someone on football nichety, that's definitely not a word, but what word would that be? Obscurity.
Yeah. Irrelevance to many people. If you want quirky kit sponsors from the 2000s, I'm your man.
That's why you're here. Yeah. Right, so we'll go into it. We'll talk about footy history first.
Yeah.
So first one is, who do you support?
I support Liverpool, which, being from the Wirral, is, I don't know. I think I really struggle sometimes because I think there is an identifiable Liverpool fan to an extreme that might not see any Liverpool fan being from the Wirral as relevant. So I am a Liverpool fan, but I understand that I just have to get the piss taken out of me from like actual Scousers because I'm
a few steps back before you start going.
Yeah.
But you can prove yourself. I'm sure you've done enough of that, haven't you? Yeah. So the first memory you've got of football, what comes to mind?
Oh my God. 5 years old, 2002. It would have been seeing on my nan's telly in the kitchen Rivaldo doing the dive at the 2002 World Cup. He gets the ball hits his leg and he grabs his feet. And I was like, what's that? And then, yeah, it kind of like trickles of that led on to like, I think sort of Euro 2004 was probably my first actual memory of football. But 2002, I remember seeing Rivaldo. I mean, I remember seeing a lot of English people on the news getting very upset with like St. George's flags on their face. I was like, what's going on here? And then I sort of explained that it was. I had football shirts and stuff, but I didn't quite grasp the concept of it until I was about 6 or 7. And I mean, there is like all good Liverpoolians, Gerard Carragher, there is a photo of me in an Everton top.
Oh, God.
When I was like 3 or 4. And then I did, well, not to pull at the heartstrings of your audience, but my dad didn't have a dad until I was about 10.
Right.
So there was a lot of ambiguity in terms of what football team I would support. There was a spell with Arsenal. A brief spell with Newcastle, a brief love affair with Villa, and then because I had all the sticker books as well, all the Merlin sticker books,
Yeah.
and I was just like obsessed with like, this badge is cool, this kit's cool, and I think one of my mum's mates at work had to sort of rein me in and go, look,
You
I'd
can't do
recommend
this.
you should support Liverpool.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
Are you thankful for that, friends? Yeah.
I am, yeah, I am. But I'll say, but at the same time, I've got a mate who's a diehard Tranmere Rovers fan, and I mean, I can't get to the games as much as I would like to, but he goes week in, week out, and I think if
Yeah.
if you're out there, Liverpool, and you want to
Alpha tickets. Yeah. This is the place to come for Liverpool tickets. You're right here. You're correct. So you're saying you didn't go to match much at all? Like, how often did you go?
2007 was my first game when my stepdad took me. We went to, and this is the problem as well with football, is like, kind of the reason why we started Cultures really is that I can provide you with, like I say, a kit sponsor, a shirt manufacturer, a random moment. But I think when it comes to analytically talking about football is where I falter a little bit. I think I'm not quite as loud as people are on social media about opinions and stuff like that. And I think that view of myself was summed up perfectly by my first game, which was against Birmingham City, and it was 0-0. And I was like, couldn't be more apt for someone like me who's like, can't wait to go. And I swear, Torres had a shot that hit the ref that, had it not hit him, would have got in and we'd have won 1-0. Because I was getting really scared because like of the noise, and I was like, if we score, like it's gonna go mentally, like yeah, probably. And it didn't.
Yeah, you never quite got that.
No.
But normally there's a cheer when it hits the ref, but if it's going in, you're not going to get a cheer.
There was from Birmingham.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
But then we had the season, Rodgers' first year, 2012, 2013. We went to the dad and lad thing was amazing because it was like £45 for him and a £5 for me, and it was great. We went to every Europa League home game and about 7 or 8 home games as well. So maybe over like a third of matches, to be fair, we probably went to that season, which was class. And it was just that Suarez game where he scores 2 free kicks and we get beat by Zenit.
Yeah. I mean,
it was one of the best games we've been to, even though we got beat. But
Carragher make a mistake.
Yeah.
I
think we would have won if it was his last season, that wasn't it? But yeah, that was one of the best games I've ever been to. The Tricky Hearts one as well to get into Europe was amazing as well, with Suarez scoring the equaliser. But yeah, that season was probably the year I went most.
You went the most games. Okay, well, I normally ask as well, is the best era of football. Obviously, for anyone unaware, I think I've even quoted yourselves on here before. I'm sure everyone has. I bet you wish you could make £1 out of every time someone's mentioned it because it's gone quite big. But maybe explain why I'm saying that and what your favourite era is.
Yeah, the Barclaysman trend that we sort of birthed, I think, is probably the best. I think it's hard. We need to come up with tighter rules on how we define it. But I'm going to sort of say from maybe 2003 to 2000. I'd say like Leicester, we said this yesterday, I think Leicester winning the league was a good cut-off point, I think. Yeah. I think sort of from 2003 to 2016, peak Barclays. So that era probably, I think, yeah, for me, sort of 05, 06, 07, are really memorable. And then the Wilderness years of Hodgson, memorable for different reasons. But yeah, I'd sort of say that time span, my favourite era of football. That ball that I think they Premier League brought it out yesterday that they're going to use, aren't they? That T90 Aero. Unfortunately, reminded of Eric Edmond scoring that screamer against us. But yeah, there was something that was just, I don't know, at the time you probably didn't appreciate as much. But when you look back, you're like, oh my God, it's so iconic. Yeah. Like the Nike T90 stuff. I don't know why they ever got rid of that because it's
just the circle and the international kit and that. Yeah, what a time!
So good.
I think as well that an interesting fact I have about that ball is obviously the yellow one was better. Yeah, but Gerrard's Olympiacos goal was with that ball, which I always think blows my mind at why I wasn't there.
So I've got a theory about this: is that in the 90s as well, there must have been a thing where you could just use whatever, as long as it was like FIFA registered or UEFA registered. Yeah. I think you could use it because in the 90s you've got like United have used a Numbro ball in one game, and then people have used, which I think is great, to be fair. Yeah. But then, Champions League final played with, but then I suppose the Champions League ball was,
they used to bring the final ball out.
Yeah. So, and if it was winter,
but then you look at it now and they can't use the offside thing because they have a sponsorship with Adidas and they can't do it with Nike. That's why it's
Yeah.
not in the Premier League. So that's
No
mad that
way.
it can go that far from, I'll just use any ball. We can't
You've got to
we
use
can't make the
this.
game better because we've got a sponsorship with them and not with this ball. That's why Nike's going out this season.
It's such a
as well,
shame that isn't getting the Puma. Because I think, I don't remember Mitre obviously, but that Nike one, the Geo something, I've forgotten the name of it, but the one that they did, the metallic one for the Scorpion with for that World Cup. But then Adidas is synonymous with the World Cup, isn't it? So it swings and roundabouts. But I mean, I like Puma as well. I think some of their stuff is underrated, but they're not in a position where they can be shoving their elbows out. But then again, we might look back on it in 20 years. This is the thing, like Brighton and Brentford fans are like, when we did the Barclaysman thing, we kind of didn't include them and they got really wound up. And I was like, no, enjoy this now, because in 10 years' time, you'll be remembering, you know.
Well, that's it.
Brian and Buemo.
We're going to go into that with more,
Apologies.
but we're going to talk more about Liverpool just quickly. In that, I'm going to ask you the tough question that I ask everyone who comes in, which is the top 5 Liverpool players of all time. And just to make you aware, everyone will disagree with you. Everyone will hate you.
I've gone objective for 4 of them and then 1 for a personal preference because I thought there's loads I could think of who have got a personal connection. But I thought, I don't know, I've got to be... I mean, like, who did I say? I think on a pod last year I said Mark Gonzalez and someone was in my DMs like, you know nothing about football. But he was the first player I got in the back of my shirt, Mark Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's fine. So what I'd say is before you do it, say if there's a parameter of you've seen them live or whatever reason. If there's not, that's fine. Just to maybe make some people hate you less. And also, if possible, can you go 5-1?
I've seen 4 of them live. Okay, 5, I'm going to go Pepe Reina. I was always picked last in school and I was always put in goal. And I had that Liverpool shirt, the orange one that had the patches on, the shoulder patches and elbow patches, sorry. And he was the first one who I thought like he's someone I can look up to. Kind of like, I don't know, in Dudek's absence, there was big shoes to fill, I think.
Yeah.
And I think he was sort of like, he just reminded me a bit like a bulldog, kind of just like, no nonsense. And that's what I adopted when I was putting goal in school.
Yeah.
I just thought he was class.
I always think it's mad as well because if he was still there today, like how many years would he? If he's backup goalkeeper, imagine the connection he'd have had.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like if he'd even could see him in like a coaching role there or something. Like he just didn't want it. Like I'd love it if he stayed, but there was that season, wasn't it, with Rodgers where I don't know if it was remember that Channel 5 documentary?
Yeah, Inside Anfield, was it? Being Liverpool.
Yeah,
sorry.
It was so bad. And there was this, you can tell there's something off with him. And I think he plays like Europa League qualifier and then just gets rid of him, I think. That's the year Mignolet comes in, isn't it? Yeah.
Becoming that season.
Yeah. And I don't know what went on there. There's a rumour as well that he smoked loads of fags, which adds another layer of...
Yeah, but it's probably similar with what happened to him. Is that we had Chris Kirkland in and he was saying the first thing that Rafa did when he came in was like, I need a foreign goalkeeper. And that just basically just changed it all. So it's probably... Your goalkeeper is probably an easy place for a new manager to like put their style of play in, isn't it? 'Cause it's only one player and they play every game, so the other one doesn't really moan. So
you're not taking like, you're not selling Suarez, are you? To be like, right, we're getting this lad in. Yeah, but I just loved him.
But yeah, Reina number 5.
Reina number 5. I'm going to be really controversial and keep my number 1 for last, obviously. But I'm going to switch it around. I'm going to go number 4, Fernando Torres. What isn't to love about him? I mean, I wear an Alice band at 5-a-sides because of him. When he came from Atletico as well, it felt like, oh, cool. This like, I know we had like Morientes and Yosemite and all, but it was like he was the first one. I thought like, oh, this guy's like. And I remember reading in Match magazine, having like cutouts of him at Atletico and that World Cup with that lovely Spain shirt and his T90s, and it was like, oh, we're getting like a prime quality striker here.
Yeah.
And he was just great, wasn't he? I gutted he left.
Yeah, it was that period where he was the hero, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think because maybe that team didn't win a massive trophy and then he was just after Istanbul and then went a while before stuff happened. And obviously how he left.
I wonder if he came 06-07, that Champions League final, is it different?
Yeah.
Is it a different tale? But what couldn't he do? I mean, I remember against Blackburn, he scores like a header outside the box. It's like, he was just multifaceted there. He was just mint. And the only game I saw him play was a pre-season friendly against Atletico Madrid, where he was 1-on-1 with the keeper and he refused to score because he was playing against Atletico Madrid. And I
Well, I
was sat
always
there with my
think
dad, like, I think he squared it off to like Dirk Kuyt and he missed. I was like, what's he doing?
I always think that the Chelsea game where Gerrard slipped, Torres went through, and I remember just being there and the captain just, please don't score. He passed it to Willie, and then so maybe subconsciously had a flashback to that pre-season friendly and thought,
I can't
where's Dirk Kuyt?
I saw him in the Kenny Dalglish stand, the young James Allen. I thought, I can't do this to him. He can't break my heart even more.
Yeah, but no, he's he's come up a few times.
But I mean, the Chelsea thing, unfortunately, is a shame. And he did redeem himself with that goal, didn't he, for Chelsea against Barca? Obviously, that awful miss, which is so funny against United. Have you seen him now? He's ripped.
Yeah, well, I was at the Legends game. I was in the press box, and I got a selfie with him, and he was like, he's steady in this armchair. He's a very, very well built man, I can say.
He's chiseled,
and he's just massive and like tall anyway. But then, as you say, he is like absolutely huge now.
That Gerrard Torres connection with the black third shirt with the red, the one that Stephen French shadow boxes in that documentary, Danny Dyer. Yeah, he was just amazing.
Yeah, go on, next one.
Number 3, Luis Suarez. Carrying on from, the hole that Torres left, I predicted to my friend as well, and you can ask him, Ryan. I said at the 2010 World Cup, I was like, we'll get him. I said he'll come to Liverpool. January 2011, lo and behold, ultimately he does come with Andy Carroll, but we signed him and I was like, told you he's going to be absolutely boss, and he was. I was like, maybe we need a bit of a shit house.
So you say a bit of bite then? No?
Yeah, well, no, very good, very good. I was like, so we need someone who's maybe a bit,
Yeah.
And he obviously was, was gonna give it all he got because he bloody got sent off to make Uruguay go through to the semi-final of the World Cup. As good as I was for Ghana, I was like, oh, he's class. And then I saw him live again, that game against Hearts, that playoff. He scores this goal from like an insane angle, and that's what he could do. He just literally. He was kind of like again with the Gerrard thing of like lumping balls to Torres. It was like you could just hoof anything to Suarez and he just bring it down. The one against Newcastle, a lot of people compare that to the Matoma goal a couple of weeks ago, but he just took the weight out of everything when he controlled it. It was insane. He was just an absolute delight to watch. And that game against Zenit where he scores those 2 free kicks.
So very underrated, that free kick.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That no one ever talks
There's
about
no
that,
highlights of it at all.
Yeah, that was the same, as you said, you went to all those games, well, that was the same one where that season where Mignolet gets done for the 6-second rule, which never has happened before or since and all that. So it was with the red nets, it was a mad time.
Red nets and the old LFC corner flags that Rodgers wanted, didn't he?
To get back to it, but that was quite a unique time.
It was, yeah, because he spanned a weird time, didn't he? Where he came. Was it January 2011 he came? So with Hodgson still have...
No, it was Kenny got him.
Yeah.
But he obviously just arrived.
And then, we win that FA Cup. League Cup, sorry. And then he transitions into Rodgers' squad. And then, that him and Sturridge, like Sturridge, him and Coutinho, it was like the second coming in many ways. It was like,
It was, a very, very good team. That was... If Liverpool win the league that season, I would think, what would Rodgers' reputation be like? Because surely you'd still have to hold him to high regard. But because of what happened in that, it fell off when you lost Luis Suarez, one of the best players in the world. It makes sense why maybe it didn't work that quick. And then obviously what came afterwards in Klopp. But what kind of with your list?
2, I've gone Gerrard. I mean, he's got to be in there. He has got to be in there. A talisman, an icon. Where do you want your statue? What more could he have done for Liverpool? Just picking off some random memories, that volley he scores against City, Rodgers' first season. I've not yet. People probably thinking, James, what about his goal against AC Milan to get us back? Yeah. But they're all like given things. Just watching him pick out a 40-yard in-swinger is. There's various things in football that I just go, oh, and that was, as a kid, I was like, the vision he had was unreal, and just could pick games up by the scruff of the neck. Great free kick taker, penalty taker, just an all round. And it's a shame. I was saying this to like my cousin, who's younger than me. who's obsessed with FIFA, and he'll never appreciate that. I've said this to like comics as well. That there's a generation of children that are so obsessed with stats and like 99 pace and 99, that they'll never appreciate like a Gerrard 30-yard pass or a 40-yard screamer. Like that one, is it the one against Middlesbrough?
That's got to be like the best goal ever.
Yeah.
It's mad how good that goal is. Yeah.
Unreal.
And again, no one thought about it because it's quite hard, probably quite rightly, because it was a pointless game. But
Yeah,
my
yeah.
thoughts, what a goal that was. Brad Jones in goal as well. You know,
Brad
to
Jones.
get himself a move. No, but yeah, you don't need to.
I don't need to say any more, really.
Yeah.
Like what I'm going to say isn't going to add any more onto his legend, but
Yeah,
I think
he was quite good, yeah.
he was all right, wasn't he?
But I think the main issue will be that he's not number one. So
He's not number one. Do you know who is number one above Steven Gerrard? Gibril Cisse.
Go on.
Probably my favourite one. He's in the he probably is my favourite Liverpool player of all time, for a very personal reason. Okay, let's get off the bat straight away. The red and yellow boots at the FA Cup final. What a legend! The goal he scores as well. I wanted to be him. I thought he was absolutely fucking cool, and he wasn't terrible for us, but he wasn't amazing. He was just meh. Although he did get his leg broken, didn't he, against Blackburn?
Yeah, it was twice.
And then he got for France as well, which I think if that hadn't happened, maybe he'd have done a bit better. But I just loved him, fell in love with him instantly. And my mum's mate lived in Elton, where he was like the Earl of Frodsham. And Elton's like the neighbouring town. And she'd see him jump up and down on a trampoline while doing rehab and stuff, and I was like, no way, Gibril Cisse lived next door to my mum's mate. No one in school believed me. And I remember we were driving to hers, and I had my Liverpool top on and pulled up at the traffic lights, and next to the traffic lights in this massive Hummer was Gibril Cisse, and I was like, and I knocked on the window, and he rolled the window down and went. I was like, Gibril Cisse, just give me a thumbs up, no way. And for that reason, he's better than Gerrard. I mean, if I met Steven Gerrard, you'd probably
wouldn't tell him that.
No.
Since have you got Cisse's number?
Yeah. I mean, I met Phil Neal at the Anfield tour. Don't know if I can say it. I met Phil Neal at the Anfield tour when I was a kid, and my dad was buzzing. He couldn't wait to meet him because that's like one of his idols. And he was like, "Oh, Phil, yeah, like you were my hero as a kid." And he does this Q&A, and the Q&A's like we're 2 minutes into the Q&A. And he goes, right, I'm just going to go to the loo. Sorry, I've been meaning to go for ages. And I look out like the window on the concourse, and he gets into his car and he drives off. He just didn't come back.
Didn't fancy it.
And they had to go like, oh, yeah, he's had like an emergency to attend to or something like that. But only I saw it. Everyone was like, oh, that's a shame. I didn't want to tell my dad. Yeah, so I could have had. Did
you get a replacement?
No.
Did Cisse come in?
No,
I
mate.
It was coming there.
James, do you want to come onto the pitch and score some? Yeah. But yeah. I mean, I'm being silly, obviously, probably, but for me, I think I just loved him.
You're going to get lots of reviews for that.
I am, yeah.
Inevitably gets put as a club.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to go and go.
But you just get ready when you come back. So you've got a couple of weeks before it comes out.
I was reading the comments on Danny Davies' one for Ibrahimovic, and I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Come at me.
Yeah, there we go. But no matter what you'd say, you'd be wrong. If you put Gerrard top, you'd still get people kicking off here, so it's fine. If we're talking football obscurity and whatever, the Jose kit PlayStation 2 with Gibril Cisse, that's going to help.
It ranks highly for me, sponsor-wise, but I was very chubby as a kid, and those Kappa Combat ones, like if you support, like I think they didn't release them, whereas now you have your player issue, and then you get. I had this problem with Reebok as a kid because the year we won the Champions League in 2005, couldn't. They were proper skin tight. I love that yellow one as well, the yellow away, really underrated kit that. But yeah, like if you like Wales, Italy, or a couple of other teams, they just made them skin tight. So you've got to buy. I've looked on classic football shirts. You've got to buy one like a 2XL for it to look fine.
Yeah, it's like the Napoli ones now, and especially classic football shirts. You've got to buy like
the Armani ones, yeah. Crazy that, like tailored football shirts.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Mental.
Right, well, next question that we ask everyone then is the top 5 players, but we would say who we don't support, so who haven't played for Liverpool.
Top 5 players of all time. Andre Pirlo. A lot of people have come out.
One, sorry.
This is sorry.
You can do one. There's any others fan on this if you haven't got an order.
I haven't got an order,
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
I'll start with Pirlo. A lot of people have come out recently and said like he did nothing. He just stood in the middle of the park and like made better by the players around him. Shut up. What a maestro. What a conductor of the game he was. I mean, you only have to watch that Italy game against England where, I mean, to be fair, England were absolutely shocking in that tournament in Brazil. But even that shot he has against Joe Hart, and Joe Hart turns around and goes, wow. He's the player I wanted to be. Like, his vision was insane, so effortless. In his autobiography, he says that story about how I won the Champions League against Liverpool is that I played PlayStation, went out, won the Champions League, and came home. So cool. I just wanted to be him. I never like when I played football in school. I was never. I was either in goalie or like an Andy Carroll. So I just lump it up top and I'll just whack my toe on the end of it. I wanted to be the man in the middle, just pulling all the strings. That's why I can't play football with my father-in-law, because we have an amazing relationship. But I think if I'd played five-a-side with him, it would ruin that for me, because he's like that. He's like man in the middle. You go there, I'll find you. Don't worry about it. And that's the player I wanted to be. And watching great free kick. Yeah, he was just. I loved Italy at that time as well. Like coming off that World Cup win. And I don't mind AC Milan. It's a thing with AC Milan is like I don't hate them because I know we beat them, but I do hate them because they made me cry when we got beat in 2007.
Yeah.
So I've got like him at Juventus for me.
It seems like he's just saying it for the sake of it, but aged like a fine wine.
He did.
But like
he still looks great now.
The Juventus team, like they changed the formation to put him in the middle of the Italy team, and he was good. But like I think he got better when he got to like 32, which is mad. You're over the hill, but I think he just seemed to realise what he was good at and what he needed to do, and that was just keep the ball and play it and just be unbelievable.
It would be like FIFA as well, where he wouldn't know that like a player was over there and he'd be looking there and he'd still find. Some of the passes he made were absolutely insane.
Played in third person,
genuinely.
Next one,
Kaka. Again, read the Bible because of him. When I went to, I'm not a religious person, but for a brief period in 2007, I had a Brazil shirt. I wore gloves because he wore gloves. Snood as well.
The vest?
No, didn't go for the vest. No, I just read the Old Testament. But the Centre Parks Dad and Lad football tournament, and I scored with my left foot, and I did the Kaka because he pointed to God. At that point, I was so gullible as a kid that I was like, well, if I read the Bible, like eating your bread, vegetables. If I read the Bible like Kaka, and he's being blessed with the gift of football, maybe God will.
A lot of footballers do have a strong religious belief, though.
Footballers, boxers, and MMA fighters is mental that like God's blessed me with the ability to fucking kick someone's head in. It's crazy.
And Americans,
it's mental, that, isn't it? That they're like, I want to. I don't know how much of it is just natural talent compared to anyway, but I thought that would happen and it didn't because I'm terrible at footy, but
Kaka had some divine skill, you could say, but what a player he was.
He was fantastic, and that clip of him where he comes back to a five-a-side game, I'd love that to happen to me. There's a fella I work with who was at the one that Roberto Carlos turned up to, and I was mate, just tell me everything. So to receive a pass off Kaka would have been amazing. Obviously didn't really work out for him at Madrid, because I think he went for 60 million and Ronaldo went for 80 million. He was kind of eclipsed, wasn't he, by the Ronaldo signing? But I was like, they've got Kaka, like he's class. And then he goes back to Milan and he's all right. But him, Pirlo and him at Milan. I'm so jealous. But he was class. Loved him.
And the next one,
Wesley Sneijder. Yeah, he looked like he'd beat you up. But at the same time, if someone started on you, he'd have your back. I don't know what. I think maybe I'm choosing a lot of these players to fulfill the fatherly absence. I've got Pirlo, who's cool, the cool dad. Kaka, the religious discipline. Sneijder, the shithouse. The perfect blend of midfielder. But him at Milan, probably my Inter. Sorry, is probably my my core memory of him winning the Champions, winning the treble that season actually for Inter, and then in that World Cup, I think that Netherlands team at the World Cup were Inter. I really wish they'd won that final, and he was just amazing. Again, I tried for ages to practice free kicks when I was a kid, and he was the person who I'd like modelled myself after to try and just whip in a Wesley Sneijder ball. Really underrated. Maybe I'd love him to come to the Prem as well.
Yeah, but do you remember that transfer rumour that came up about him? I've definitely discussed this. It was right at the start of like Twitter becoming a thing, and some bloke on Twitter basically just started this rumour that he was going to come to Liverpool.
No way.
And it got, I can't remember who it was. It could have even been Gerrard. Was on Soccer Saturday. Not Soccer Saturday. The one with Chris Kamara and Ben Shepherd used to do.
Oh, the Sunday supplement thing.
Whatever,
wasn't it?
but he
Yeah.
did the morning one. And they said to Gerrard, like, oh, there's rumours of Wesley Sneijder coming. How true is it? And he was obviously like, can't comment, whatever. And then this bloke went on Twitter the next day going, see, this is why you should never believe anything on Twitter. I know nothing. I just made all this. And he like trying to blow it all up, saying how bad social media was for football, transfer rumours. And obviously everyone's learned that lesson because that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fabrizio Romano doesn't exist and make up fake transfer stories.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like, you could do that. And I remember my Red Button. You remember Red Button? BBC Sport Red Button in like the gossip section.
Yeah.
And I'd take all that as gospel. Like,
you go in, yeah.
Was it true that weren't we linked with Klaus-Jan Huntelaar every year or something?
Yeah.
Oh, was it us or was it? I can't.
Yeah, but for that, it's the same type of people, wasn't it? And it'd always be transfer deadline day. Someone just says, "Oh, I've seen Defoe in the car park in any city," and like, just Defoe's going there just because. Or Peter Crouch, someone who likes a transfer, they just be thrown into a rumour. But yeah, that bloke was trying to prove that. I'm just making everything up. It was great. There was no way. But yeah, he would have been a great player.
Yeah, the Ajax connection as well with Suarez, that'd have been great. And I think with international teams, there's not a lot like, I don't know, like Italy now, 1 to 11, 10, 15 years ago, you'd have been like, every position filled great. Whereas, I don't know, that like it's same with like Netherlands is like that 2010 team, Schneider, Van Bronckhorst coming to the end of his career, Van Persie. Just like names that were class. Whereas, maybe Johnny Heitinga, but like, whereas now it's like, there's
Van Dijk,
Gravenberch. But then,
no, I know what you mean. But
who
yes,
else?
it's not as much household names. Yeah, Dumfries. Right, okay, that's for the next one.
James Rodriguez.
James.
Now, the annoying thing about this is, you've probably seen the thumbnail. It's James Allen. Everton had a midfield of James and Allen for the COVID, and I was fuming. I couldn't believe it. I was like, another way to get under my skin. I loved James Rodriguez. I really wish we got him, but at that point we'd had, I think, Coutinho. There was no, and he's a tragic tale, isn't he? Of like buying someone after an international tournament is never normally a good way to indicate a player's ability. But God, was it like, and I hadn't really seen much of him until that World Cup, and that 2014 World Cup was probably the first one where, like, for me, I remember someone just coming along and he's arrived on the scene kind of thing. 2010, I don't know really. I'm struggling to think. I'm probably going to get roasted in the comment section for that. But 2014, yeah, when he arrives, and that goal against Uruguay to bring it down and
so good,
whack it in off his left foot, and then gets the big money move to Madrid, and then just kind of peters out from there. Really, he'd have been if he'd have been at Everton for longer, I think he would have been a post Barclaysman. I think he would have, because he was pulling strings. Like, he was at Everton, he was unreal. Like under Ancelotti,
especially that was as you say, COVID times. And probably at his best as well. He probably would have looked like someone who would have fed up a crowd as well. He was a bit of a cult hero, I suppose, but also good as well, which I think is probably important to note.
There was a headline as well that was like the names Bond, James Rodriguez. Yeah, is just James on the back, number 10. Oh, yeah, just fell in love with him. Still am. I know he played for Everton. I do, but yeah. And there was all that these rumors going around that he had like an operation, like an operation to transition into a man or something. There was always these fucking weird rumors going around that, like,
heard that one, to be fair.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Liverpool Everton beef is mental sometimes. It's the one rivalry that's so borderline, like so silly that it goes beyond hatred, I think, to just like taking the piss out of each other for no reason. Like I think Liverpool fans started that rumour, and then Everton retaliated by booking the coach under Richard Allison. All that. It's lovely, isn't it? It's like proper sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
But yeah, James Rodriguez.
I don't know. That's 4, so one more.
That's one more. Where are we up to? Bit worried there's a bit of a nil. I think James Rodriguez might be the bit of... Oh, Schneider, actually, to be fair. Ronaldinho. Oh. I mean, again, so having this discussion with my father-in-law, he says he's his favourite player because you don't go off... He's like... And I think that's what Cultures is about as well, is like, we could go off stats, we could go off goal-scoring records and honours and stuff, but put him on the pitch and just watch him and nobody else. I think he was, for me, arguably one of the best players to see. I wish I could have seen him live. I think that his influence was incredible. I think very sort of short fuse though. I think he had that R10 line of tempo boots as well. He was meant to be like the next, like massive thing, and he was for a little bit, and no one's really took that. Like Neymar, you could argue, who we may come on to later, didn't really capitalize on it as well as other players could. But I could pick him based on that goal against Chelsea alone. But some of the stuff he was capable of was unreal, and like the last sort of hark back to that proper free flowing Brazilian style of football. Yeah, I absolutely adored him. I thought he was class.
Yeah, he's. I think the Premier League did a thing where like they've done the quick fire questions with all the players. They've done like loads. They keep releasing them throughout the season. But it was who was your hero as a kid, and it was like 80% of them said Ronaldinho.
Yeah,
which again, it puts up that it's not the top goal scorer. He's not. He was decent. Won a Ballon d'Or, played for Barcelona. Not like he was a bad player, but as you say, what he did was.
I remember there's 2 Nike adverts. One's like spaced solely on him, and he loads of kids did it in the playground when I was in school, where myself included, where he just miles away from defenders and the keeper, and he dribbles the ball to the goal line and nods it in with his head. I swear that was him. I can't remember if it was though. Do contact if it. But and then the other one was that he was in that. Do you remember that famous Nike advert, the first person one, where he's in that and he does this little like. I tried to do that in the playground and nearly broke my ankle, but yeah.
No, yeah, he's
if that five turn up at your Manchester, my Power League, you're screwed.
Yeah, don't even need a keeper.
Don't know.
Well, the next one is an all-time 5-a-side team. If you've got one, if you want to just put them in and put a keeper in, that's fine.
I'd whack. I'll make sure I've got a keeper. No, I've got a different 5-a-side team in total actually.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because they're objectively
who you like.
But these are people I want to play with.
Yeah, and Liverpool players are allowed here, and anyone is allowed in this one.
Buffon in goal. I want class. I want quality, longevity, season experience. Did model myself on Reina. Model myself on Buffon. Just whack him in net. Love him. Can chat to him afterwards. Just seems like a nice dude. I think it was really weird. We went through a period of like, it was Casillas, it was Buffon, maybe Barthez. Who took over after Barthez? Can't remember. Gregory Coupe maybe. You had Julio Cesar. There was like a sort of solid keepers in every country, pretty well, in most countries to be fair. Van der Sar, but Buffon was the one for me. Remember, all my mates were like, "Oh, big Casillas fans." I was like, "Oh, I'm having an espresso and smoking a cigarette here." I wouldn't. This is where I'm going to get ribbed the most. Ryan Nelson. Now, Barclaysman, nailed on Barclaysman. My family are all from New Zealand. I do support the national team, and I think Ryan Nelson's influence not only on being an absolute rock in defence for club and country. I've heard he's a lovely man from New Zealand fans. I've not met him. I've met Chris Wood's mum and dad, but we'll come on to that later. But he seems like a solid dude, massive forehead, so clearances are going to be fine. Puts a foot in. I don't need to worry about tracking back. He's there. He's just going to rugby tackle people into the ground, but seems like a lovely fella as well. So yeah, Ryan Nelson's in there.
Okay, you get on well with Buffon.
But him and Buffon, bit of Italy, New Zealand influence. Yeah. Yeah, you know, people talk about Juventus, so like Juventus had the perfect blend of like Italian fullbacks and defence and the Argentine midfield, and
they were missing New Zealand centre
yes,
back,
we've got no nonsense New Zealand centre back, him and Winston Reid. Midfield Gerrard and Pirlo. Just think, I want a bit of. I mean, I'm saying 5. I've got to include myself in there as well, so maybe I can be subbed on for one of them.
Yep.
But Gerrard and Pirlo, man in the midfield. If I need a pass picking out, I can rely on any of them. If I need a free kick, I can rely on any of them. And then up front, Thierry Henry. I think probably the one player who I wish we had at Liverpool. I think
a lot of teams wish they had
him
at his prime there as well, wouldn't he?
But I really that. Yeah, I think we'd have won even more if we had him.
Yeah.
And I think
probably another one who combined the stats with also being an entertainer and cool, like Ronaldinho, if you want to put it like that, you say the gloves.
His transition out of the game into punditry and just being an all-round legend. Yeah. And you know, let's not talk about Vava Voom, the Renault advert here. Even in despite of that, he was still a cool guy. Even on that intro to FIFA 2004 with Kings Leon, where he's running on a floodlit pitch in, I don't know, Bolton or wherever it is. But yeah, oozed cool. And I want that up front.
And the super sub is
me.
I think that's fair enough.
I mean, it's going to be, if I'm getting subbed off for anyone, it's probably Ryan Nelson.
You're going to fill at the back.
But I'd like to play alongside him and just.
Yeah, but I reckon you could play anyway. Versatile, aren't you? No.
Yeah, but if I was sort of playing alongside him, and we're playing 5-a-side, I'd just be going, what was it like to
just chat?
Why did it really not work out at Tottenham? Right, what happened?
I reckon your rest of the team's quite good. You could put yourself in goal and talk to him. That might be better.
Yeah.
Buffon can have his cigarette and
there you go, his espresso. Perfect. On his moped, he's gone. I don't know who you are, James. Go away.
doing a Phil Neal on you, yeah. Right, so here, what we do now is we're going to go into the debate.
Okay.
The debate.
And now we're going to settle some of the biggest debates in football history.
Oh, God.
So we keep track of these throughout. There's winners in the 3 that I keep track of, to be fair, but it's still interesting to keep going.
Okay.
I don't know when this is going to end. I don't know when an answer is answered, but the first one is Gerrard, Lampard, and Scholes. And can you put them in order for me?
Do you get a lot of Chelsea and United fans listening to this?
Not deliberately, but listening, probably not. But coming in, there's been a lot of Liverpool fans.
I think for me, even bias aside, Gerrard. Yeah, Gerrard won, and then it's a fight between Scholes and Lampard, but it's not, because Scholes is number 2 and Lampard's number 3. But you can't ignore Lampard's goal record. I think that's the issue, isn't it? Is he still their top scorer?
I'd expect so, yeah.
Or something like
Pretty sure he is.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't ignore that.
He is, yeah.
And he was good.
But being third in that list isn't a bad player.
Isn't bad. This is the thing. And if there's any Chelsea fans out there, don't take it personally. I'm not ranking him at last place because he's shit. It's purely because I think the other two have. But also, Scholes played in a time I wasn't even born. Like, I wasn't born until 97, so he was still playing. Then I only really saw it. But then he came out of retirement and was still great.
Yeah, and the Sports Direct boots.
Yeah. Number 22. And his goal against Villa and just his ability. My mum apparently saw him once in a cafe and said hello, and he didn't say anything. So maybe that might mark me down. But
Gerrard.
But then there's the whole debate about, like, I don't know.
What?
Is there a different time where Gerrard and Lampard could have played together? Possibly.
You think with a good number 6 behind them, why wouldn't that work? Or tell Gerrard to play there because he could and let Lampard be the goal scorer?
Yeah. And then, it's a good point. Because football was at its most, probably arguably, it's not to say that it isn't tribal, but probably was at its most tribal at that tournament. Because, there's a whole famous story of all the different players sitting on the club's own table and stuff, and, you know, Gerrard was there, and then Lampard and Terry had their own table and stuff. Whereas now, it's kind of all fluid a little bit, isn't it, with the current team? So maybe if there was that ethos, they could have. And there was obviously the whole thing about Gerrard maybe going to Chelsea. I don't know. Gerrard is number one, and I am removing bias from that.
Well, he's winning by a landslide, but I do keep asking Liverpool fans to come in. So that's probably the reason.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
Maybe
not
need to,
intentional, but they're the people who say yes to me. So it's,
but yeah, I'd go Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard. Yeah.
I think that's the...
Is that the most common
consensus
one?
at the moment, I think, yeah. But as you say, they're all good players. Next one is Pele or Maradona.
Both sponsored by Puma. Fun fact.
Stop stalling.
Maradona. Yeah. I'm going to say on the pitch, better individuality than Pele. Even hand of God aside, not that I'm not arsed about it. Even that goal he scores against England is amazing. I think there's more iconic moments from Maradona than there are Pele. But then is that due to the fact that advancements in technology meant that we could document more? Because there's that goal in '94 where he's coked off his head and he's... I know Santos is a massive deal. And when Pele died, there was, you know, the massive outpouring and they held that ceremony for him and it was amazing. But the way not only Boca Juniors reacted when he died, but Napoli as well. I mean, Napoli is kind of like a mini Argentina in some respects, isn't it? I think showcased just how influential he was. I mean, you know, I've never been to Napoli, but I've seen so many murals and so many, you know, just this probably celebrating more than Jesus over there, to be fair. And he only, I think, did he win the league and the cup with them that season? Yeah. So
it's really obvious.
Two World Cups as well. Yeah. Don't know how many did Pele win?
3. He said he's the only player to have won 3. I think. So.
Is he? I didn't know that, and I'm going to get roasted in the comments of that. People are going to call me washed. I'm sorry, I didn't know how many World Cups Pele won. I apologise.
I think Maradona's winning, but this is the closest one. But
I think people pick him because I think there's people who pick him who saw him and went, yeah, he was great, and then I think there's people who pick him because he was a bit of a laugh and he did coke.
He has both. Yeah.
Well, I don't like that. I just.
You're doing it in spite of...
Exactly, yeah. I'm doing it in spite of your drug abuse. Yeah.
I think you got both on your mug.
I have, yeah. And I'm sipping out the Pele side, actually, so...
That's so the camera can see the Maradona side. That's what it is, yeah.
But I think it's... Yeah. It's not to say that I don't appreciate Pele. Pele's one of the...
You're not bad if you're second behind.
Exactly, yeah.
Maradona,
but I also had that lovely... I had the Maradona Le Coq Sportif shirt as well, which is amazing. Yeah, but both sponsored by Puma, and I wore Puma Kings as a kid, so they're both winners in my book.
Right, okay, well, the next debate is Messi or Ronaldo.
Messi. Hate Ronaldo. I hate him. In spite, not even because he played for Man U, even after that, I can't stand him. And all this stuff about, his longevity, and like he's 39 and he can still header a ball in and jump the height of a bloody salmon. I don't care. Yes, he was good. Messi is by far the better player. Absolutely. That season 11-12 where he ends up scoring more goals than... Doesn't he break the calendar year for goals or something like that? And And then Ronaldo kind of... I think Ronaldo's jumped the... I think Messi going to PSG wasn't a great move. And... into Miami, I can see that, but I'm not really counting that because it's MLS isn't at a level really that can compete. Ronaldo gets points marked down for the Saudi stuff. That's not to say Messi hasn't probably, sports washed either. But getting out of the politics as a player to watch for me, yeah, Messi. Yep. He scores that free kick, doesn't he, against us when we get beat 3-0,
yep,
and he just whips that free kick in like it's nothing. And it's not to say that Ronaldo couldn't do that, but there's just a pomposity Is that a word? I don't know. There's a pompousness with Ronaldo, the shrugging the shoulders. And I just and he's won the league in, well, including Saudi, 4 different countries.
It's not bad. But again,
he's not won the World Cup as well, and that's the key factor, isn't it? He's not won the World Cup. When he won the Euros,
that's the thing.
When he won the Euros, the pendulum swung really, didn't it? Yeah. Because I don't think a lot of people here sort of appreciate the Copa America, obviously, because we're not really we're in, is it? But obviously Messi's won, I don't know how many Copa Americas he's won, but I think that was the deciding factor, wasn't it? It was like, who's going to win the World Cup first? Otherwise, the debate could have gone either way. But I think, sort of, because there was times as well with Messi where he was done with Argentina, where he's like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Retired,
and then came back, and I think, to do that and then win it, and then get your bloody trophy robbed by Salt Bay. Crazy that.
Yeah, that's mad.
But Messi for me.
Wearing a little gown as well. That was terrible. When they put the gown on him in Qatar for that big moment. But anyway, okay, that's fine. If they're the best 2 players of the last 10, 15 years, who is the next best behind them?
I was worried about this, because I can't do debates. I just fold. Honestly, mate. I'm like getting a bloody 7 and a 2 playing poker. I just fold instantly, mate. Honestly, I am
Can't say pass. Don't worry.
No. I want to give you content. See, you could go De Bruyne. You could go Hazard. I'm gonna say Gareth Bale.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And why? But just to say.
I think he's arguably the best. This is the problem as well. Like, I don't like this best British player. He's the best Welsh player of all time. I think for Britain to claim him is a bit much. Come on. I think he'll always be remembered initially for that game against Tottenham, and was it sort of promoted from left back to left mid, and then could kind of sort of do what he wanted and could pull a goal out of nowhere, and that was so exciting to watch.
It was when he was still number 3 as well. That was
I love that as well.
Was it that volley at Stoke?
Yes,
he was still number 3 then as well. That was the mad bit where they just turned an alright left back into an unbelievable left winger.
Yeah, and he had sort of free roam, didn't he? Really, and then I think number 3 went to Danny Rose. And then he gets the big money move to Madrid, and for a number of years, I know, and this is the problem, is that I know there's the sort of fallout and the decline with Madrid, but he scored so many important goals for them in so many important games. There's that unbelievable game against, is it Barca in the Copa del Rey where he runs out with the sort of, I mean, that's insane. And unfortunately scores that overhead goal in the Champions League final. And again, we talked earlier about players picking a game by the scruff of the neck. I think, what he did with Wales was amazing. He was one of sort of last players who could single-handedly probably on his own influence a team of people who weren't necessarily good as him. But that period of him, Ronaldo and Benzema was insane. Yeah. I loved him. I just loved watching him. And I'm going to get called out for it, but
there's not a unanimous answer to this one. There's changes, which is probably why I ask it. So that's because no one really knows. I think everyone just concentrates on that debate of it, Messi or Ronaldo, that no one actually has an idea who the one is. So I'm
just worried that someone with a pixelated Messi badge as their Instagram called Sniper Skills 29 is going to go, nothing, but
that'll happen regardless. So.
Yeah. Watch Gareth Bale. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal.
A couple of other debates that haven't been going as long, but I've been asking. First one is Salah or Hazard.
Salah.
I think it's that easy, but Mika Richards said Hazard, and that's what I feel like I have to keep asking it. But again, I keep asking the Liverpool fans. It's not really fair, but
I think there's a big issue, isn't there, with my contention at the minute, and probably another reason why we started Culturas is that there's a habit, unfortunately, a bad habit of, and the Hazard one you can kind of get away with a bit because he was good, but I think there's a habit of people who have been paid or are deliberately saying controversial things football wise in order to generate popularity and I can't knock the hustle, but I think you lose a bit of integrity, and I think Big Meeks has
What
done
Curtis
that.
Jones said it though. If you want to, I agree with you, Salah, by the way. But just to play devil's advocate, Curtis Jones.
But Curtis Jones, mate, are you seeing it? You're seeing it, Curtis, week in, week out.
Yeah.
How can you not?
Yep.
You can have the joy of playing with him and watching that game back, Curtis. Don't get me wrong, Hazard, yes, great, but nowhere near Salah.
I agree.
Salah cutting in on his left is just, it's inevitable, isn't it? It's just, it's provided us with so many moments. And again, it is biased because you do keep asking Liverpool fans, but still.
I think we've done this like the last 3 or 4 episodes. It's not too many, but yeah, it has.
Different eras. His long hair, his shaved hair. Other eras. But yeah, no question.
Big beard, no beard.
He is probably our best ever player, isn't he?
If you want to say that.
I'll leave that to the comment section. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right, the next one then is, you kind of already answered it, but it's goalkeepers, Buffon, Casillas and Neuer. Put them in order for us.
I'm going to go Neuer first. Which, yeah. Seeing someone run out of their box at 30 miles an hour, not 30 miles an hour, a bit of exaggeration, but to just hoof it and being a bit like, because I was a bit, especially when I used to play, I was a bit afraid of doing that. And he was like, I was like, oh, but he's like, but he's good. Like he can get, and that's always, Alisson did that, didn't he, a couple of seasons ago? Like did that sort of Cruyff turn to try and, I think nearly fucking, but it's always a bit, when you see something like that happen, you're like, oh God. But when it was Neuer, this guy means business, knows exactly what he's doing. Sort of reinvent, like, not to say that keepers were one-dimensional or not as maybe influential or important, but he did sort of revolutionise or bring the sweeper thing back into popularity. So yeah, I mean, what hasn't he won really? Countless Bundesligas, 2 Champions Leagues, I think, and the World Cup. Yeah. Just missing the Euros, but yeah, Neuer top. I mean, Buffon obviously never won the Champions League, but has won a World Cup. I think 2 and 3 is personal preference for me. I think, but I'd have to go for Buffon. That's no disrespect to Casillas. I think he's great, but I just personal preference for Buffon really.
That's fair
like
enough.
As we said before, espresso.
Yeah, just looks cool.
Just generalise the whole nation, James. Well done. But yeah,
no,
loved him.
Right, the next one then. It's club or country, but I try and ask it in a more original way. So, seeing as you've just revealed your New Zealand roots, I'm going to say captain of New Zealand to win the World Cup or captain of Liverpool to win the Premier League. What would you prefer?
I have seen Jordan Henderson captain us to victory. Asterisk COVID, because there'll be people out there going, oh, you didn't really win it, did you? Well, no, we did. We did. The problem is New Zealand winning the World Cup
makes it more interesting.
It does, but it's something that is probably so far out of the realms of possibility currently. I mean, the way Chris Wood's playing, he's phenomenal. That would be amazing. Okay, I'm going to say it. Yeah, New Zealand winning the World Cup because it's so.
You're captain of them, remember as well.
Yeah, then yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Me sort of little balls for Chris Wood to run onto. Yeah.
Perfect.
Max Mata, Ben Waine. Take your pass up, Ben Waine played for Mansfield against Wrexham early in the season. Wow. It's great.
Claim to fame, yeah.
But I was in the Wrexham end, so I couldn't be like, do you support Mansfield? No.
I support you.
Yeah, that thing. I've got to tell you this. There's a supporters group, the Flying Kiwis. They're amazing, run by a lovely guy, Matt Fayos, and a couple of us travelled up to Newcastle to watch Chris Wood play, and it was one of the greatest days I've ever had. Just like me, like, and something like the knowledge they had as well, just about like football's kind of on the rise really in New Zealand at the minute. We've just got a new team in the A-League with Auckland FC who are doing really well. And it was something that at the time was never really regarded as like basketball he's like sailing. There's so many sports that sort of came before it, really. Whereas now, sort of like the past sort of 5 years, it's really on the rise. And it was just great to meet all of them. One Newcastle fan came up to us and said, he went, "Where you from, like?" And this guy went, "Oh, yeah, we're from New Zealand." He went, "Oh, New Zealand! I fucking love that Shane Warne." And he then mimed batting, and I was like, it's one thing to say he's Australian, New Zealand, sorry, but to claim that he wasn't really renowned for his batting, was he? I fucking love that Shane Warne. And then we went to watch the game, Newcastle v Forest, opening game of the season, and Chris Wood came on for about 10 seconds at the end, and I'd gotten I think it was like 3.5 hour train to Newcastle to watch him come on for 10 seconds. But it was an amazing day out. I met his mum and dad. But that's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's very problem as well is with New Zealand. If you're an international football fan and you go and follow your teams away, and you freezing your arse off in Estonia, we're playing Fiji away, so it's like you can't really be like, where are you off to? Oh, got to slog it to bloody Vanuatu away again. What, you mean a beach for a weekend?
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
But you've hinted at it a couple of times to Chris Wood's mum and dad. Would you like to? Is there more for that story?
They're just lovely. I just had a big fan.
Are they big?
Big fan. Are they big? Not really. No, they were quite just sort of average. But she went, "Help yourself to the buffet." I was like, "No way."
Did she do it? Did she do a good
Cheers,
spread?
thank you. Yeah, I think Newcastle put on a really good spread.
Okay, good.
But yeah, it was an insane day, that. But yeah, he's my out Liverpool aside, he's my goat.
Okay, good. Well, we've got 4 questions left in the debate bit. Next one is I'll go overrated first. Most overrated player of all time.
He probably has been said before. Neymar.
Yes, we've heard him before.
Just mentioned before about Ronaldinho, and then that 2010 World Cup, Brazil kind of implode. Really, the victims of their own downfall. I forgot who it was who gets sent off against Netherlands in that quarter final, but you can see like something isn't right. And then the 2014 World Cup, it's in Brazil. It's Neymar's chance to I think he does get injured in that opening game, I want to say, or maybe he misses a game. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was in his hands to be that the whole honour of the Brazil number 10 kind of died with him, I think. It kind of, all that prestige that I'd seen as a kid through Ronaldinho and Ronaldo and Kaká, and he was meant to be the next person
Did they win the Olympics? And that was this is the stepping stone to go and win the World Cup. Because that was in... Yeah, they definitely won it, but it was still something, because I was thinking that was in Brazil, but it must have been the Olympics after, because 2012 was London won it. But still, I remember them winning it, and they were like, this is his legacy beginning, and then they're going to go and...
The only thing he won with Brazil, I think, was the Confederations Cup. Not even like a Copa America or something. That's not to dissuade the Copa America being a proper competition, obviously, but he didn't... Yeah. And even at club level, great. I was someone as a kid, when I was playing FIFA and stuff, he was the one that everyone was when he was at Santos and stuff, it was you've got to have him in your team. He's boss. This lad's got to be made that big move to Barca. And he wasn't bad for Barca by any stretch of the imagination, but when he went to PSG, it was just nothing. It wasn't it didn't sort of shake the ground. It didn't make me excited to go, oh great. It just never really just plateaued. Really,
I think that they had Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe, and people still didn't really care.
Yeah,
it just shows what can PSG
crazy, isn't it?
Do,
People were more bothered about Messi going to PSG to watch him still do it at that level than Neymar. And then obviously he goes, where is he now?
He's just moved back to Brazil.
He's gone back to Santos, hasn't he? Yeah.
But
and then that's it. Once you go there, once you go to Saudi, you kind of. It's the shame about John Duran, isn't it? Is there was so much potential there, and yes, he's set for life now, but.
I would say we've had a few footballers in and a few non-footballers, no offence. And everyone who's of a footballing background or persuasion has a lot more understanding of why they would make that decision. The players, but as fans, you just want to see the best players play against the best players, don't you? But as a player, if you get the opportunity to set your family up and go and play with Ronaldo and Mane, it's not that bad.
I can't
it's
say
not he's doing that. But I get. I fully agree. He should still be playing.
I just think his star burned out quite quickly, really. And yeah, him as well. Like, I mean, sort of like that passing of the torch. He fumbled the bag on a lot of, to quote the youth, he fumbled the bag on a lot of things and just never really. He's just not someone off the top of my head who screams like, "Oh, Neymar!" I'm like, yeah.
Could have been.
I don't think he deserves the credit. Yeah.
Okay, but the next one then is the most underrated player of all time. Chris Wood.
Yeah. Chris Wood, Winston Reid, Shane Smeltz scored the cracking goal against Italy, World Cup 2010. Underrated, maybe the most underrated World Cup team of all time because we drew every game unbeaten, but never went through.
Famous fact in it, yeah. 2 teams that didn't lose, yeah.
Never went through. What could have been? I'm going to go for Sergio Busquets. Right. Now, honour-wise, yes. He's I think I don't know how many Champions Leagues he's won, maybe 3. Euros and a World Cup. That aside, he's not the first person you think of, because obviously Xavi and Iniesta running that midfield, really, aren't they? But there's so many anecdotes of like people watching Barcelona and people go, "Don't watch everyone else, just watch Busquets for like 20 minutes," and everyone goes, and I think I mentioned earlier with Pirlo, it's like I love watching that kind of like that sort of almost like sixth sense of like knowing when to do things and preempting stuff, and I don't really think he got the credit he deserves. A bit like Michael Carrick in many ways, like pains me to say it as a Liverpool fan, but like just someone who keeps ticking it over and can find that pass and just sort of pivot and resist the high press a bit. He's just like I just thought he was class. Someone,
it's that position as well, I think, and it's you don't realise that you've got a good one till they're injured or they disappear or they say from a Liverpool perspective when Fabinho level dropped, he suddenly realised how good Fabinho was, and whereas he wasn't getting the amount of hate he was getting, he wasn't getting that amount of praise for being unbelievable at that time.
Absolutely, so. He was just really consistent. It's like a cup of tea or when it's cold, or a bit of soup, or like a warm hug. You just knew you were in safe hands, and I love that. And it's a position I really envy because, like, there probably is a lot of pressure to sort of dictate where the ball's going to go, but at the same time, what a position to be in, to know that you've got the ability to just dink it 40 yards. I love Busquets. He's at Inter Miami still, isn't he?
The little Messi retirement club over there. Okay, well, the last couple then is, who is the greatest manager of all time?
This was a tough one because it's removing bias is the most difficult thing in the world, because Fergie, three separate United squads that were amazing. Mourinho, great. Ancelotti, yes. What Nuno Espirito Santos got out of Chris Wood that people finally started he's up there. No, Paisley, Shankly, but from what I witnessed, and don't get me wrong, Benitez was great, but I think for me it has got to be Klopp, and because it's very rare that I think you get a manager who can set his stall out straight away and get players to buy into a philosophy from the ground up and know how to build something. It's kind of similar to like American sport in some ways, where like, not that we tanked, but obviously there was a complete drop off after Suarez had gone, and there was that 14-15 season that was mental, and we had like Balotelli and Ricky Lambert, and it was just, what on earth are we doing? And Klopp comes in October, doesn't he, 2015, and he's like, gets the players to buy into a philosophy that in 5 years' time we end up winning the league. It was like the perfect plan in many ways, and like really got the club. And I think that's very hard to do as a manager. I think you can win and be great and be respected, but it went beyond what he did on the pitch for me. He really got Liverpool, and I say that as someone who's from the world, but he really did embody the club in many ways. And I think, again, a lot of people don't know, Stephen Corker was his first signing. Like, it wasn't we didn't have the fortune of like a big investor to go just splash the cash. Like, he really got the most out of that squad through the system of football that he played. And it was a real, like, we didn't win the Europa League that year, but that game against Dortmund was unreal. Like, and that was like, there's something can happen here, and it might not happen with Dejan Lovren, but it will happen with someone. Like, it was just great to watch that sort of story write itself, really.
Yeah, well, obviously it's far too early to say anything like this, but with Arne Slot coming in, if he goes to win the Premier League in his first season or wins big trophies and does it again and does it again, I think the way that people look at Shankly and Paisley's thing, like, you need their personality to come and turn fortunes around, then left a good platform for a coach who can maybe didn't have as big of a personality, but obviously I'm sure Slot is still got quite a lot about him to be able to manager,
I think that was the problem, wasn't it? It was that, like, he's great, but there was like nothing about him.
Yeah, we were like watching that first interview because you're so used to laughing 4 times in the Klopp interview or being inspired or something, and then you're just like, oh, he just seems like a nice bloke, doesn't he? And you realise, well, maybe they need that as much as those little... Obviously, they're both good and they're both adding lots to the team, but you can just, as a fan, it's a lot easier to buy into the bloke who's going up and down the sideline and coming out with one-liners, isn't it? And because he was like that at Dortmund, wasn't he? Like, his personality was already kind of fully formed, like the kind of phrase, like heavy metal football, but like he was something that ruffled the feathers, wasn't it? Whereas like Slot is great, but I think only as the season's gone on, he's kind of, you only have to watch his reaction to the Merseyside derby to sort of get that. English referees are bringing the Klopp out of him.
Yeah.
But no, definitely he's been mentioned before, Klopp. I think it's a good one. I'm sure people will accuse you of recency bias for it.
Yeah, they will. You know, I know 1 Champions League, 1 Premier League for Liverpool, and a couple of domestic trophies. And yeah, he won the league double at Dortmund and got them to a Champions League final. But I know his honours might not proceed, but I think just it's weird with a manager, isn't it? Because you can objectively be great tactically, but Klopp was he's like an entity. He was everything. Yeah,
but that's it. It's hard to be everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. The next one then. Who's the greatest team ever? So it's not like a 1 to 11. It's like for a season, for a week, for a tournament, whatever. Who's the greatest team?
I love international football, and Italy 2006 for me. As a kid, watching that was like watching 11 gods play, for not to get all poetic about it or Peter Drury about it, but it was unreal, absolutely unreal. Like I said before, like from 1 to 11, like Totti was in that team. I don't know, he wasn't the best player in the world, but like he was great, and he was an absolute talisman at Roma. But he's in that team, and I think he scores a penalty against Australia. But like even him, there was Inzaghi, Quagliarella, Gilardino, Luca Toni. Like, that's mental. Like, Luca Toni for 2 years was unreal. Like, and then he had that really good year at Verona before he retired. Pirlo, Gattuso. I think 1 to 11, it's Buffon, Grosso, who was kind of like he's like the James Rodriguez, really. He'd arrived and he scored that winner against Germany. I think it was Buffon, Grosso, Cannavaro, Nesta, Materazzi, Gattuso, Pirlo, Perotta, Camoranesi, and then it was like either Toni or Totti. But it was just Simone Perotta as well from Born Ashton on the Line. But yeah, just watching them for a month was phenomenal. Yeah. And I know Italian football gets a really bad rap for being a bit, defensive and a bit shit. But I love the Serie A, I really do. And I think obviously the 90s was its heyday, but I really got into it in the noughties when it was like Juve, Milan, Inter. And that year as well, the Calciopoli scandal is the year they all still played in Serie B and won the Serie B going into that World Cup.
Yeah.
So it's like you've effectively got league, like championship players, even though they're not obviously like in that national team. But yeah, unreal. It was like 1 to 11. I just loved it.
Does Cannavaro win the Ballon d'Or after that?
He wins it the year after, because I think Cannavaro goes to Madrid that year in the lovely little BenQ Siemens shirt. Yeah, and I think Van Nistelrooy goes as well that year. Maybe, I can't remember. Yeah, do comment. But yeah, Italy 2006, everything about it, like the lovely Puma shirt,
It's
Yeah.
quite even the trophy lift's quite iconic as well. I can still picture that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it was
yeah.
all, but yeah,
I've got bedding of the. I've not got bedding of that, but I did. I remember. Imagine just rip me top off now. I had a picture of that because I loved it that much, and I had bedding of the Champions League lift 2005 because every day I'd wake up next to John Honoris on the pillow.
What a dreamer! Yeah.
I know.
You didn't know you were still dreaming. Yeah. That's good. No, that's the first mention they've had, but definitely a valid one.
I think people will probably call me a bit of a.
No, but you don't win a World Cup and not be good.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Very good point.
it's
Very good point. Yeah.
Isn't that also the World Cup that England was supposed to win, the Golden Generation and all that? So
Yeah.
if they beat them to the tournament, they obviously didn't play them, but if they beat them,
Carragher had to take his penalty again.
fix or
Yeah.
do we care?
No, I don't.
So we're going to go into more general questions, obviously touch on what you do as a comedian
Yeah.
and with your podcast, which is, I wouldn't say close to this one in terms of yours is a lot more famous, but in terms of similar topics, I'm sure we can touch.
Yeah.
So as a Liverpool fan, you should have an appreciation for the past of what Liverpool have provided. In your terms, what is the best Liverpool kit of all time?
That's my favourite question I ever get asked, and the hardest.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a home or away and a goalkeeper kit as well.
Oh, mate, yes, please. Okay.
If you want a third kit to throw in, that's fine.
Okay. Home, even though I wasn't born, I think it's 93 to 95 with the Adidas stripes on the side. Gets a bad rap, that, like the ribcage kit, I call it. Like it's a really bad rap, that, from some Liverpool fans I know. Like, oh, it was really shit, but I love that kit, and if I could have any kit, home kit, it would be that. Don't get me wrong, like the Adidas one 06-07 with the collar was really nice, and let's forget Warrior happened. Even New Balance, some of them aren't great. It's a tough choice between that Adidas one or the 125th year New Balance one that we got to the Champions League final of 2018. I had a long sleeve one of that, and it was beautiful. And it was the one kit where I was like, this is only nice because it's an anniversary year. If it wasn't, I wasn't a big fan of New Balance kits. But I'll go with 93, 94. As the home. Away, Reebok 2004-05, the yellow one, where we need to bring back big badges, embossed, threaded badges. Yeah. We need to bring it back.
The badge in a thing as well.
It was, yeah. And a lovely little, it was like a net almost motif on it.
It's like only because I think you might get the FD. Is it like the F50 boots that
yes,
Cisse wore?
Yeah.
It was like that similar design.
Which I begged to have because Cisse was in the advert, and I've got flat feet in the wide. I could have crushed my feet. I had to have them. I'm like, well, I'm not changing them. I've got them. It costs a lot of money. It's like playing football in
Which wore a different boot on each foot, even
more.
Like
Jabril. Predator on one foot and a Tiempo on the other. That kit for me really, and didn't wear it much. I think we obviously, because it's an away kit, but we wore it when we beat Bayer Leverkusen and
yeah.
Long sleeve Sammy Hippier. Oh, you can get that on eBay for 200 quid. Love that kit. And I was living in New Zealand at that time as well for that season. And I remember getting up early. This is the thing, my cousin who lives there, when we lose, it is obviously objectively bad and I do get wound up, but he has to get up early to watch the games. So he suffers a lot more, and he'll message me like, fuck's sake, I've got work in an hour and I've got up at 5 a.m. to watch us. Like the Plymouth game, he was like, fuck's sake.
Wow, yeah,
but yeah, that away kit, third kit, I never owned it. I can't believe I didn't own it, but I really want it in my possession. Long sleeve, 06-07, white with the green sleeve, I think is one of the best football kits of all time. And that is bias. And I will, when we had ITV, Champions League, Clive Tilsley, beating Barcelona, Craig Bellamy Golf Club, the lettering that was like Adidas freestyle, everything about that was beautiful. And if we'd have won the Champions League, it would have capped off what was already aesthetically a very lovely season for us kit-wise. But yeah, I loved that. I need to buy that kit, and I've still not got it. But the long sleeve one where you get the green down.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely lovely, mate. And even the shorts, one half of the shorts was green as well. It was amazing.
Yeah.
goalkeeper kit, and also green on a Liverpool shirt needs to come in more often. I think.
It must be like 2008 maybe. I remember Torres wearing
Yes,
West Ham away. Maybe he scores that one. Where it's
And
like
then
all green. That one.
We had that awful one with the gold shorts.
Yeah,
I hate
just been black shorts.
Yeah, I hated that. And yellow as well. People like the yellow kit. People are like, no. We need like.
But my dad's the traditional side of it. The away kit should be white, and a third kit should be yellow. That's all that Liverpool ever wore. If you have to keep changing them, it should be white or yellow. That is.
And then you get into, the Warrior realm. Yeah. How did you feel that season? Do you remember that season 11-12 when the blue third kit came out?
That was another anniversary thing though, wasn't it? I think
because our first kit was white and blue.
Yeah, so I think that was how they tried to get away with it, and it was their last season. So I think they got like a big deal with us, hadn't they? And we basically kind of half sacked them off, I think, didn't we? So I think that was them trying to get back at us and using history. But I think they made history because it's the first time in 120 years we'd had a shade of blue in the kit. So it had all those things going for it. Probably not the best idea, but there's so many kits nowadays, and I think you just why not?
You don't notice it. I think that's because so many change kits are like different colours. You're not really bothered, are you? But
and so much now as well. They're all like all the designs look mad when you see the kit reveals, but when you watch on the telly or you're at the match, you can't see it. It's just red, isn't it? So,
yeah, exactly. As long as it's red.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's weird that we've bumped off the biggest sort of sports manufacturer of all time for an American lacrosse company.
Yeah, it was a strange era, as you say.
My friend went, we should have signed Clint Dempsey because he'd have boosted our income by just.
They tried to, didn't they? Tried to get rid of Henderson for him,
and he'd have boosted shirt sales and get the American fan base on board. But
make him number 2 as well.
Yeah. Warrior, man. Did you have the Warrior shirts?
I think I had the home one, that like really plain one.
Wearing a flannel. Yeah, it was like a towel.
I didn't mind the whole one though. I liked how plain it was.
The collar was nice, wasn't it?
They brought the Life back, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Fair dues, actually. Yeah.
Speaking of weird, just sort of wearing it, isn't it mad that the badge is on this side on this?
That is mad, because normally There
you go. Anyone watching, anyone who's listening, sorry about that. But mad. I've never seen it in any other one. There you go. Like it's a reverse.
That's actually crazy.
Goalkeeper kit.
Sorry, that's throwing me that. That. Is it the Adidas, the iconic Adidas one David James wore is really nice, which has got like the green and purple weird thing coming from, and that Reebok one was like the tribal silver one's really nice. But in terms of one I owned, I think I am going to have to go for that 06-07 orange looking number with the shoulder. I keep saying shoulder pads like it was.
The geography teacher one.
I love that. And I had it as a kid.
It was always massive on Rainer as well.
Yeah. I loved it. I think that's the one he flapped the ball into his own net at when let's not talk about that. But yeah, great kit.
I was looking through your Twitter. I went quite far back.
Yeah.
I apologise. Football stickers were a part of the past. Is that something you'd still delve into? And if not, what's the best thing to collect in football?
That's such a good question. I didn't partake in the Qatar World Cup sticker book. It's great having a Winter World Cup because it's like Christmas. No. I did watch the World Cup, but with reserved judgment. I didn't do a sticker book out of solidarity. You're welcome, Panini. I love. I love international football so much to the point where people think I'm genuinely think I'm having a laugh. I genuinely love it, and part of that is obviously having tournament sticker books. I think Premier League sticker books are a thing that kind of ended. Even maybe when I was like 10, Match Attacks had started, and that became the new thing really. And I had Match Attacks. The 101 Steven Gerrard attack and defence is in my parents' loft still somewhere. But yeah, I loved it. And the Merlin Premier League sticker book, all the shiny. There was something nice about having something to, like, the completionist in me wanted to. And I've completed the 2018 one. Because a lot of them, what they'll do is, like 2016 I tried to do for the Euros, and we did it for this Euros as well, where sometimes they won't do like a full squad for players, so they split a sticker down the middle that had one player, but then you've got to line them up.
Disgusting, that though.
And then they had, like, you could collect stickers for teams that didn't qualify. in this year's one, the teams that just went to the playoffs. I was like, what? No. And for Christmas, I got the Panini from the first World Cup to 2022. My mother and father-in-law bought me the Panini like encyclopedia, and it's got every, not in sticker book format, like a book basically, but it's just every World Cup with every team, and it's the best. I read it, and obviously there's not a lot to read because it's just literally what club they're at, the height, what position, but just flicking through, like, it's so cool.
I always hate it when they don't have the kits. I swear New Zealand was one of them when they had like the stickers and it was just like an all black kit.
Yeah.
White. But that used to do me head in. At least with the Premier League ones, they'd have it all, the sponsors.
If you had a kit and the badge, whereas like there's some international teams where they haven't got the federation, like England for example, never had the three lines for ages. It was just an England flag, and you were a bit like, is this real? Is this fake? I don't know.
Evo stickers.
Yeah. That'd be great. Oh. If someone wants to make a Pro Evo sticker book,
Roberto Larcos,
Merseyside red.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Love that.
Let's cut this bit out. We could do that.
We could talk about Pez. I love Pez.
Get Miranda in there as well. Classic thing.
But the best thing to collect. Oh, that's all right. The best thing to collect. I mean, I loved collecting football stickers, but that only really came again, like the Merlin thing sort of got phased out when I was growing up. I don't even know if you could still get like a Premier League album. There was a time in the 90s where you get like a Championship sticker book as well. Crazy. And the ones in Italy look... Sorry, I'm just going off on football stickers, but the ones in Italy look great as well. I contributed to an article for the 2018 World Cup where I did my top 5 favourite boots. And there's like payment. They didn't pay me, but they made me into a Panini sticker. Oof. And I've still got it. That's so good. Isn't it? And then... Also, sorry, I'm going to get on to what is the best thing to collect as a football fan. Chris Stark, the BBC guy, didn't complete a sticker book. And before the 2018 World Cup, he went to meet like 5 players and see if they could like get him to sign his sticker. But the problem is that, so he met like Perotta. He didn't have a sticker of Perotta. And he was like, they're really hard to find on eBay. No, they're not. And they're like 60p.
Yeah, I saw this. I know what you mean.
He printed out a picture of him with Simone Perotta and he signed it and stuck it in where it proper wound me up. I was like, well, you've not completed it. No. What you've done is got a selfie with him, printed it off, he signed it, and you've stuck it in between bloody Gattuso and Pirlo. That doesn't count. It needs to be a Panini authenticated sticker, Chris. It doesn't count.
I'm probably with you. I do remember watching that thinking exactly the same thing too.
Sorry. Tried to meet Zidane as well. And he just I touched the bus Zidane was on, so that counts. No, it doesn't. Obviously, it would be a very short program if you waited for the stickers to arrive, stuck them in and went, right, we're done. Yeah. But
you really could have got them to stick their sticker in.
Yeah,
that's what
that would have been great. Because that's such a good idea. Because the worst thing about owning a sticker book is lining up the stickers and not getting making sure it's square and there's no like so you can see the gap, and making sure you don't get a little bump or a bubble. Oh.
But it'd be nice to know that was Zidane's bump.
Yeah. Before he, and sort of a metaphor for his headbutt again. Yeah, there you go.
Great.
Yeah, deliberately fucking up a Materazzi one, so he's got like a bump on his head. I think the best thing to collect as a football fan, I do want to say shirts, but I don't have loads, and I think I was speaking, not to name drop, but as a reference point, if this wasn't like an essay, as a reference point, because my references at the end. We spoke to Ellis Platten, who does away days, and he was like, the shirt market boomed during COVID because people were watching a lot of like retro football and like, and it sparked a lot of interest again. Where like, classic football shirts been going for ages, but it proper became like an industry, and it is now like. But I think the value of that is based on demand and not like, I think like someone was charging £100 for like an Oldham away shirt from 2015. It's like the value of it for me is kind of taking my love out of it for a bit, whereas like you can be paying over the odds for one thing, and don't get me wrong, great to probably pay like £10 for something that is a grail shirt, as the kids call it. But I think there's this bit of an imbalance in the retro football shirt world. So I'm not going to say shirts. I think it probably is stickers, but I follow an account that collects balls, And I think if money wasn't an option, I think collecting like match worn balls or match play balls or just any sort of replica ones from tournaments and stuff would be great, because you don't understand the value of them until they're gone. Like the Jabulani probably cost about 30, maybe not even 30 quid. But whereas now, to find a really good one is difficult. I'm trying to find a match played New Zealand one if anyone can source me one against Slovakia. But yeah, I think collecting footballs would be amazing. To sort of have like a timeline of, and people do that. See on Instagram, they've got like the Mitre ball to now from the Premier League and like the World Cup ball and Euro balls and stuff. They're really hard to come by, footballs.
You did that 2004 one, is it?
The Adidas Rotiero.
Yeah, the goals one, whatever that is.
Oh, the Fever Nova 2002, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, 2002, you're right, I apologise. That was on your Twitter from many years ago. So I was going to ask you what the greatest ball was as well. So would you put that up there, or what would you think the best ball is?
I think the Fever Nova.
That's the gold one with like the triangle thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best because it broke the mould of what a World Cup ball should be, because it was always the panel design with Adidas, but with a different motif depending on what country was hosting it. Whereas when it was in Korea and Japan, it was like, we need something different here. I think the Adidas one though from 2006 is iconic. I think that's really held up quite well. Jabulani, maybe good for all the wrong reasons, but having that as a kid was quite cool because you never knew where it was going to go. The Adidas 2004 Euro one's really underrated, the Rotiero, and they brought that back as a re-release last year. But I'd go World Cup 2006 for me.
Okay, and
sorry.
No, I'm enjoying it. The next one that you've already said you like each football tournament.
Yeah.
Another very tough question. I'm sure you've been asked. What is the greatest? I'm making it maybe easier or harder. The greatest World Cup ever.
Greatest World Cup ever. My first one, and you always remember your first, like you're all hardwired to it.
Yeah.
Was 2006. I was 7. No, I was 8. And that's one I really remember and being like, oh, this is great because it's on every day and I can watch Poland against Costa Rica at 3 p.m. on a weekend, and it was amazing. But the 2010 World Cup is the one where I finally was like, as a teenager,
so
wall chart, trying to watch every game I could, even in school, sort of like trying to find who's got an iPlayer account, so like just trying to like watch everything. There was a lad in my class who lied about a dentist appointment to watch England v Slovenia, and I could argue. I think Defoe scores a really sort of scrambly goal, but I could argue that going to the dentist would have been a more pleasurable experience than watching that.
I watched that in biology, I swear we watched that in, where we were like, why can we just put the match on? And I go, just put it on.
Yeah.
Like they shut all the curtains and no one could see we were watching it and just put it on. And I think the teacher was like, yeah, I'd rather probably just watch it.
It was the first one where I imagine it's what people who were teenagers in 2002 felt like, where it was like 2002, like Japan, Korea, completely new territory. We've got a new ball. It's like it was sort of revolutionising what a football tournament should be. 2006 was then like a sort of, right, we're back in Germany. The ball's sort of back to sort of and 2010 was like, right, we've gone to South Africa. And then when you hear the story about like FIFA gave the World Cup to South Africa to secure votes for it to, that sort of maybe does take the shine off it a little bit. But we've not even touched upon the Vuvuzela. Like, you just even if you hated them, it was just, there was so many different things about that tournament.
And it's that first goal as well, isn't it? The commentary.
Oh yeah, goal Bafana, goal for everyone, go for all Africa. Yeah,
and then just doing that celebration and
in school,
and all that. Yeah.
That 2010 summer, we did an Xbox 360 World Cup tournament. The staff at my school were amazing. Like, I beat one of the IT technicians. I got Spain in the draw, beat a sixth former, and I was in like year 8. Beat an IT technician. I think I got beaten in a semi-final or something by some absolute sweat. But it was just a great summer and an amazing tournament. I loved it, absolutely loved it. And New Zealand, obviously. It's the only day I was off sick as well in school was the day we played Slovakia. And Winston Reid, last minute. Yes, please. Yeah.
I want to talk a bit more now about obviously what else you're doing, but the Culturas Podcast. I was listening to some of the first few episodes. It was the Culturas Ultras Podcast.
It was the Cultural Ultras Podcast. Yeah. And then we're like, that sounds like a bit of mouthful. It sounds a bit too much.
So you've started the word. That's what I was thinking. Did you create the word?
Probably, yeah. We just called it Culturas.
Yeah.
Like, ultras culture. Yeah.
I just try again explain what that is, because I think a lot of people will know that but they should know, is that you birthed, as you said, the Barclaysman thing, which did go massive and still is big, but like was massive. I know it wasn't only recently. But
yeah.
Like, where did that come from? Where did the podcast come from? And what are you doing with that?
Podcast came so Fionn, who's the co-host, he was like really good childhood mates with Jamie Hutchinson, and I know Jamie. And then I met Fionn like through Jamie. And then at a gig, me and Fionn were just chatting randomly about like footy. But we were both like, just some of like the stuff we were coming out with, like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, I'm more like, we're talking about the Swedish league, and I was like, oh, I'm more of a Hammarby man, but like enjoying that sort of bouncing off each other and being like, oh, have you ever been to like, what you dream away, and like sort of chatting about all these like, you know, just sort of referencing like clubs and players. And it was like, it's like kitchen chat. It's like, that's what we say about the podcast. It's like 3 a.m. kitchen party chat. And we were like, and Callum Oakley, one of my good mates in comedy, came up to me and went, like, that could work, that, like, because, and I was like, oh, I don't know, because we are just sort of sitting around just naming players and teams for ages. But I was like, but that's what football, that's like, that is what football fans do. And in a world where it is like this is great. It's just literally just having a chat about footy. Like, I think in the world where, I don't want to slag, I'm not slagging anyone off, but there are podcasts out there that emphasize debate to a point where it becomes not only irrelevant, but like I said before, the purpose of just driving traffic towards your platform. And I think personally that's quite dangerous and quite like you sort of clouding your view on football, really, I think. Whereas we hoped we could just be a little small drop in the ocean that, you know, it's not like we're reliant on nostalgia, because there's podcasts on there that are probably more dedicated to nostalgia. Like Quickly Kevin for me was one of my favorites, and I never really, I was born in '97, but I still loved learning about the Premier League in the '90s. Whereas we hope that we can just provide that sort of sort of chat with your mates where you name one player and you end up watching bloody Maynor Figueroa's YouTube highlights for an hour. Like, we're just like, why not? Because it was truthful as well. It was like, we're not really like bullshitting anyone. We're not, and also we're not having to do research on passing patterns and formations and stuff. It was just a podcast where we could just be ourselves. And the early ones as well, it was just sort of what like topics like what's the best squad number and stuff like that. It was like, we had like, is number 10 the best, and like where do you stand on like people where like Conor Bradley wearing 84 and stuff. It was those chats that like were about football, but they were never about anything serious. Like Atletico Mints was one of my favorite podcasts of all time, because yes, it's about football, but it's a completely sort of fictionalized world they've created, whereas ours is just, and you know, we do get sort of, I don't want to say tarred with a nostalgia brush, that implies it's a bit negative, but we do get sort of associated, and to a degree it is obviously, you know, and to be fair, Fionn, to be fair, I think did come up with Barclaysman, and then we sort of used it as a hashtag. And then to go into your question, that just went wild, and that is obviously that is what we are known for, but it's not we haven't cashed in on nostalgia. We're celebrating the period of football that a certain group of people really enjoyed, and it was never, the only antagonism it was met with was one person tweeted us to say that all this nostalgia will be a key influence on an increase in reform voters, because you are a cipher for the far right, and because you're harking back to how things were, it's going to incite a lot of brand new. And I was like,
that's why you did it. Yeah.
Mate, I've literally posted. Yeah, imagine
that last.
The rug's been pulled from all our followers. Yeah, guys, I'm actually setting up a new podcast, very right wing, and I don't mean like Albert Riera. Whereas I was like, mate, I've literally just posted a video of Nico Cranshaw. Like, calm down. But yeah, that was wild, and it was meant because I work a day job still, and I had people from like The Guardian emailing me, being like, or messaging me on Twitter, like, are you free now for an interview? And like just loads of people, and I know it it's sort of like done now. But at that time period where people were just kept messaging, being like, can we interview you? Can we do this? Can we do that? Like, I remember going, BBC Radio Manchester was a really fun one, and all of them were. Even Ports, like club, the best thing for it, regardless of like the eyes it got on us, the fact that clubs embraced it was amazing and really celebrated the ethos of the podcast, because we were worried that clubs perhaps didn't want to celebrate it or not take the mick or sort of lean into that. Portsmouth were unreal, like posting highlights of Yakubu and Cranchar, and when Yakubu won the Barclaysman, there was a plan for us to go. It didn't work out in the end because of the scheduling, but they were like, we were going to present with an award and stuff, and it was just really nice to see clubs embrace that. I was gutted Liverpool didn't, in a way. I was like, I did tweet them and stuff, but Everton really got on board with it, and I had to bite my lip at a lot of it, but yeah, because we did that, and then I think someone did like a montage of highlight sets and music from that, and that's when that was when it like really took off. But yeah, it was crazy.
I don't think you got enough credit for it though, and I don't know what could happen, but it was Barclaysman went, it wasn't the Culturas Podcast Barclaysman, you know what I mean? It wasn't like you were getting tagged in it all, like people may not even know that you were part of the podcast type thing. So like maybe there could have been more, but then what is this that can happen from it? I don't know, but surely that idea to then go that big would have been a bit mad. Thinking how this happened. We did.
I used to do the videos of like asking my wife, like, do you remember Didier Zakura? And like, I went to my mates at Wrexham, and I went to watch Wrexham, and someone at half time was like, it's the bad man, it's the guy, it's him. Like to his message, I have no idea. I was like, it's him, it's you, mate. I was like, that was mental. And like Fionn as well did the Barclaysman of each club A to Z, which was amazing. And like, yeah, people went up to him and like, oh no way, like Barclaysman, like that's what's been really nice. People were like, you guys are the Barclaysmen. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, well, we went on my stag do recently to Bulgaria.
Hello.
Yeah, it's a good one. And we were going to a gun range, and we were split into two. And the first group had to go in, and I was in the second group. And we were sat in this like 3 stories down in this street in Bulgaria, waiting to go and shoot some guns in the next room. And we had nothing to do, so we just started going, who's got the most saves in Premier League history, centre forward, and just going through that. And we were going with the most passes. I felt like we were there for 4 hours, and I just went, it's actually more fun just saying the names.
It is.
So we made up a game which I think would do well, in that you make a category in your head. So the one I did was they say like the left-footed players, and people just say players at you, and you say yes or no, so you can really get your creative juices going.
Great.
With like Papa Bouba Diop's coming out, and you go no, and you know what I mean, just flowing through them. So that was the game that we had. But touching on what you did, that is the most fun bit. It's just saying a mad footballer.
It really is.
That's why I realised it was more fun saying Papa Bouba Diop than it was trying to guess who had the most passes in the 2006 season or whatever.
There's something about that, isn't there? Like, I can't. There needs to be like a definitive term for it, but yeah, there's it is mental, and it's like telling a joke. I think it's a similar reaction. It's like you're trying to one up your mate, being like, oh, who's he gonna pull out of the locker next? And then you're like, bloody Andre Bikey. Like, what? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's the best. Well, and then I wanted to touch on next, and that you do comedy as well. So obviously that's where the podcast would have started. Now obviously you said you had a connection in terms of comedy background. So how important is podcasting to comedy today, and do you think that this heavy football part of your career has helped the comedy side, or do you reckon maybe it's made an audience more niche, or maybe you can go off and do a mad hour about Andre BK and people will go and watch it?
I'd love to. That'd be great. Get on your BK. That'd be amazing. Coming to a venue nowhere near you. I think so. I mean, I tried to. I mean, my persona, as you've probably seen on the podcast and in comedy and in life in general, is quite, geeky, nerdy, beta male. I used to put that in my set. I don't do it anymore, but like early on, I used to have a joke about there was someone I knew at uni who like didn't go out with me, but went out with a lad, and I was like, well, what's he got that I haven't got? And it was me being like quite petty, like, well, I bet he can't name all 32 teams that took part in the 2010 World Cup. I mean, I'd just list them all off. And I was like, oh, it was like, I am being myself as well. I was like, oh, wait, that's like a good indicator of like, I had no faith in this because people aren't going to like it. To be like, oh, okay. Like, I think if anything, the podcast has really helped me trust in what is funny. I've always struggled with that and still do to this day. Is like, am I writing stuff that people are going to like, or trying to be like educated and like clever, whereas I can just trust myself that at first maybe like 10 people might find this funny, or even one, but you know, a couple of weeks down the line, tailor it a bit, it can be accessible. And I think the podcast has helped that massively. I've been involved in a couple of comedy podcasts, whereas this one, it felt like I could really like lean into that niche. And it's not because like I was really worried as well that I kind of exhaust myself, but that hasn't happened at all. If anything, it's just kind of... I think in general, comedy and podcasting go hand in hand, don't they, really? I think we live in a world now. I mean, when I started comedy and wanted to start comedy, it was literally just to be financially viable. I mean, that still hasn't happened yet, but you can't just be a stand-up anymore, I don't think. There isn't the room to just be good at stand-up. You've got to be multifaceted. It's like Adam Rowe and Dan Nightingale are objectively great stand-ups, but also have an objectively great podcast where they can like be themselves and chat, and like the two go hand in hand. Like every comedian pretty much has got a podcast because it's like an extension of their persona, isn't it? It's like it's just like and intimate as well, I suppose. It's like a lot of comedy podcasts that I watch and listen to, do that. It's like just an extension of themselves, and you feel like you've got a bit more of a connection with them rather than just 10, 15 years ago. You just go and see them at a venue.
Yeah.
Whereas like now it's another way of being involved, I think, which is really good.
Regular as well, because especially if you watch a comedian more than once in a year, you can pretty much see the same stuff because just the material. In terms of football in your act as well, so we've had Kyle Legacy in who comes and wears a Liverpool kit and calls himself the LeBron of comedy.
Yeah.
He happily talks about it. We've had Rob Thomas in who said, I deliberately don't mention football because I want to keep football as my thing and comedy separate from it. And you touch on Adam Rowe there as well in his last special that we saw. Like he does like a 10-minute bit on the Liverpool Arsenal 4-4 draw. The game with Diaby scores and Liverpool, whatever. But like he was not hiding the fact that he's a Liverpool fan. Would you say you were in Manchester? Would you happily go out and say I'm a Liverpool fan and make it part of the act, or would you try and make it more general, or would you shy away from making football too big in your comedy?
That's a very good question. I think sometimes I allude to it depending on the gig. Normally I say like the red team, and then people kind of, but then that invites people to go Man United or like Nottingham. I was like no, like Liverpool, and then you get that can. I forgot what it was. There was like a comic who like went on stage in Sheffield and went Blades or Owls, and there was like a punch up during the interval. Like, I think what I try and do is mention it in a way that is tailored to my niche, and I think once people buy into that persona, then I can but I can introduce a bit more into it without it being like football orientated. So like I had a bit about wanting to start a football chant. That was my dream, and I tried to do it in the pub and it didn't work. So like it's also football adjacent stuff, but with my sort of reaction and emotions at the heart of it. Really, it's not a joke about football. It's my experience with it. Is how I'd sum it up pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I say it's each person's approach, and I'm sure it would definitely split some people, but then you can always find that funny and whatever. I think
absolutely, yeah.
And then not just comedy. Again, looking back at you, you've done acting, is what I saw.
Just a bit, mate.
Mockumentary on football. I saw that.
Did you watch the Albion?
I watched a bit of it. I can't say I'm an expert on it, but if you could explain the acting side, and then obviously that's still football. Again,
I hate admitting it that I do a bit of acting. You just automatically look like a dick. But I do enjoy it. My degree's in it. And then I there was a post on Facebook, and it was like, we're looking for someone to be in this like football. This was 2018. It was like, we're looking for someone to be in this football mockumentary, and the Adam Jump and James Kennedy who wrote it, lovely people, and really nice, and gave me like that opportunity really. And I'd always I'd done like little bits here and there, nothing ever to the point of it being filmed professionally like that was. And I auditioned for it, and they went, yeah, don't worry, just come down. Did some like test footage of it in January at Witton Albion in Northwich, which was amazing. And it's just, like, it was so just lovely. There was no script. They were just like, you can just improvise what you want for the test footage. And it was I was like, really, it just felt like a lovely environment to showcase like a skill set and like just try and go for stuff and try and like make them laugh and stuff. And they were so lovely and giving me free rein to do that. And then they'd written a full pilot, and they went, do you want to come back? And I was playing like a ball boy, an adult ball boy basically, who hadn't left the club and was sort of there. I don't think he was getting paid a wage, but he was just sort of a very enthusiastic volunteer. Keith, his name was. And yeah, they went, do you want to come back and do the pilot? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And this was oh, I'm so sorry. Apologies. It's crazy now because it's like, this is a time where now, I think there was one called The First Team that came out on BBC Three that had Will Arnett in. And then like Ted Lasso is like massive now. And this sort of, not to say like, oh, we did it before those guys, but it happened, like it sort of began to ride that wave really. And yeah, Martin Treneman was in it from Phone Shop and In Betweeners, plays Simon's dad in In Betweeners. That was mental. Like, right, you're in a scene with him, and I'm like, what? It's like, I used to watch this guy on TV when I was a kid. Mick Ferrier was in it. Dean Fagan was in it. He was now in like Gladiator 2, which was insane. And it was just to have that experience of being on an actual proper like, and it was all funded through crowd, but it felt so professional. I was proper imposter syndrome. I think it's, other than like some stand-up gigs, it's the best thing I've ever done. And all my influences growing up as a kid were never stand-ups. It was always characters. It was always sketch comedians. It was always like League and Gentlemen or Alan Partridge. It was Ricky Gervais. It was all, and The Office. Sorry, it was all that type of stuff. It wasn't really stand-up. Stand-up was just a really good way of getting into comedy, really. And I love doing stand-up. Don't get me wrong, but when that opportunity came, I was like, yeah, I've got to do this. And I got to know James, who I know really well now, and I've been in a couple of his things since then, and we filmed some stuff together last year. And yeah, sorry to go on about it loads, but yeah, it was that's why and they did a premiere for it as well at Witton Albion. And yeah, I'm just hoping one day someone phones and goes, yeah, we're gonna commission it. Fingers crossed one day.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed for you as well.
Thank you.
So you've got the comedy, you've got chatting footy in the room, and you've got the acting side of it as well. Maybe not put them in order, or you can if you wish, but what would, if one thing could take off, what would you like to be known for the best of? What are any of those?
Oh my God.
If you have to pick.
I don't think I've got the range to be like, I think my limit with acting is like, yeah, awkwardness. And I don't think I've acted in anything that hasn't been a mockumentary. Oh no, I have actually in one thing. So I think my range is a bit limited to sort of like, nerdy men. So maybe acting, I don't know.
You could be the greatest ever.
Never
could
know.
be, you are.
Yeah. Could play Chris Wood in biopic. I think comedy. I think, yeah, first proper, like, well, no, football was a love, but I think comedy was like I think football is a thing, isn't it? No matter how many teams and players there are, like, it is, you can't change the fact that it is. Whereas comedy can be pretty much anything you want it to be, really. And yeah, I'd probably say comedy. Yeah.
And it just sounds like a bad question, but not like testing you. But like, so how is that going to happen? What's the end goal, and then how do people help you, and how do you get there?
You sound like my mum and dad.
That's what I felt like then. I don't know what I mean. I apologise. But...
No, it's fine. My mum does that from time to time. She'd be like, I saw you gigging Leeds the other day. How much was that? the value. You want to know how much? I think. Oh, that's such a good question. I think we ever answered this before. I think you have got to be tenacious, but not to a point where you become too aggressive or too cocky, or you can then become a bit difficult. But you have got to have that a belief. You have got to back yourself, dig in, buy into it, accept that things aren't going to always go your way, opportunities aren't going to go your way. There'll be times, this feels like that Wear Sunscreen song by Baz Luhrmann. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're not. The race is long. You've got to have like a balance of all these things, and you can't be you can be too much. That can go you down a certain way, but it might prevent you from something else. And I think my biggest, unfortunately, what's the word I'm looking for? My biggest lack of a skill is probably being tenacious and being a bit like, not even tenacious, just being a bit more confident, really, which is mental because people go, well, you can go up and tell jokes every week. So I think this year is definitely sort of, and through the podcast that's helped massively as well, because I don't think I realised, I will always doubt myself at any given opportunity. Like, I have loved every minute of this, mate, but on my way home in the car, I'd be like, Neymar overrated. What on earth were you thinking? Even though there's so much evidence to prove that he is, I second guess myself all the time. I doubt myself all the time. Like, and I'm not saying I'm the only person that does that, but I think doing the podcast and having faith in doing something that you believe in and can translate well has given me a massive boost in going, well, I can do comedy that I enjoy. I know everyone says that, like, just write what you think's funny. And I think what happened was I did that once and it didn't go well. And I thought, right, sometimes I might just have to be a bit careful when I do that. Whereas now I can just go full pelt, be aware that, some stuff isn't going to stick. Some stuff is going to die on its arse in Lincoln on a Tuesday for £10. But know that in the future, I think that's things like you've got to realize it's an investment. Like you've got to constantly, and also, like I say, I don't think you can just do stand-up anymore. You have got to. So that's why I enjoy doing acting. I enjoy doing the podcast. It's just like, it's all good avenues into funneling what I want to do.
And just getting yourself off there. So what is coming up? How do people support you? How do people get involved?
You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, those two, at James Allen 27. I'm on the TikTok as well, if that's your bag. At V James Allen, as in V, like a medieval speech. James Allen, my handle for all the other platforms was taken on TikTok, unfortunately, because I was late to the game. You can follow at Culturas Pod on all things, on all social media platforms, our YouTube channel, even on Patreon. I normally tweet or put on Instagram where I'm gigging, and I'm supporting my mate Dean Coughlin on tour for a couple of dates. Through comedy, you've had Rob Thomas on, you've had Cal Legacy on. Dean's a great comic, and if you want to come watch me and watch him, then do that. I've loved every minute of this,
I've enjoyed
you've proper gone like full Farouk, I think. You've asked questions where I didn't expect, caught me off guard, and I went, oh god, I haven't thought about that, mate. And subscribe to the Football Historian podcast.
Thanks very much, I appreciate it. Well, no, it's been great having you there, as I said at the start. In terms of people who seem very apt for this podcast, I think you're definitely in one of the top tiers. You may not have played 100 games for Liverpool, you may not have played at any significant level, just like me over here, but in terms of the niche interest, I think that's exactly what people want to do at 3 in the morning in the kitchen after a night out, and that's what I think's more fun than scoring a 40-yard goal at Anfield.
Thank you, mate. Am I the one after Shamrock?
No, there's one.
Okay.
There's a throwing coach for Liverpool. He was the one before you, and then you're the one after that.
You can't have. I watch videos of him and he terrifies me.
He's a very nice lad.
Is it over? He terrifies me. Yeah. You can't have me after him. You've got to have you've got to have like an adjacent, like someone who's accomplished. You can't go from a man who kicks people's heads in for a living to, hey guys, it's me. Do you want to talk about crown paints?
We have to throw into the middle.
Some of the lap throws. Oh no, cheers.
Thanks so much. And you've already said it all. I put it all on the screen, but follow everything that you're doing as well. Thanks very much.
Mate.
And we'll see you next time on the Football Historian Podcast.
locking eyes from across the room. Heart is pounding. What do I have to lose? This kind of feeling tends to blur your sight.